ice
We're
cream.
going live now.
Oh, somebody's just stole his ice cream.
Darren, how you feeling about your life right now, Darren?
Oh, great.
Are we live?
Nice weather.
Yeah, it might be good to announce it to everybody that we're live before somebody says something they shouldn't say.
To be fair, I did just say we're going live after that.
Are we live?
We're live.
Yeah. I think so anyways. That's the goal. We'll see if it actually works, but I'm pretty sure we're live.
All about those ranking points as well.
We're getting ranking points.
Yeah, some ranking points, mate. Need some ranking points, mate.
Oh, no ranking points.
Action, mate.
Darren's over here thinking he's got like a free ride into the Mosconi Cup this year, thinking he took second in the World Cup of Pool, and now he's finding out that he's in the same dregs of society he was in before.
He's got the same.
Watch.
He's just found out he's got the same amount of ranking points as I do. Anyway, guys, how you getting on?
You're nasty. Nate, you don't look very well. What's up?
Well, I just got the second COVID vaccine yesterday, so I'm all fully microchipped and ready to be radioactive. Might want to stay away from me in the coming weeks.
Well, let's stay away from you for the rest of my life. It'd be nice.
Oh, you stop it. You stop it. The first thing you're gonna do when you see me in London is come over and give me a big sloppy kiss on the cheek and a nice hug, right?
I can't wait.
He does that with everybody when he's drunk.
I heard that once. I heard that was a thing. I heard he does that when he celebrates too.
We'll see if you get lucky.
Well, I'll pay for it if I have to.
Oh, are we on Facebook?
Yeah.
Lovely.
We're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, and we're on YouTube.
We're everywhere.
Got it all down, haven't you?
So social media giants.
Something like that. Someday.
So how are you getting on, guys?
You guys?
Shall we do this? Shall we get on with this? How you? Has it sunk in yet? What you guys actually did?
What, dogged it?
Yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that later on. But you must have thought about it for a couple of days now. You've had time to think about it. Was it a massive surprise? Was it? I don't know.
Well, it's got to be a massive surprise. 27 missed calls.
I don't think it's a massive surprise, to be honest. I want to know what these guys think. Is it?
Well, we were quite obviously lucky to get in the tournament. Quite fortunate with a draw in the first round. No disrespect to South Africa, but one of their guys plays English 8-ball. He's never played American pool. JJ Fowle, somebody that me and Cal knows very well. He's based in Manchester, the UK. So we knew that we had a good first round draw, and we needed that. So it was like a little bit of a feel. Enjoyed the match, even though I didn't particularly play well. But obviously, second round, Greece didn't perform. We should have put that bed. Well, we could have been down 5-0, to be fair, against Greece. But they let us off the hook, and then we let them off the hook and let them back in the game. But luckily, Carl come through. JJ Fowle. So that got us to the quarterfinal. And then from the quarterfinal, we played really well. We sort of settled down, gained a bit of confidence, felt like the old days. Obviously, just fell short in the final. So obviously, the first day or so, just sort of processed what happened and wasn't that disappointed, really. Just more disappointed with the performance, let's say. But after 2 or 3 days, starts to sink in, and probably looking back, I think we had a great week. But yeah, there's a little bit of disappointment there also.
How did it actually? Oh yeah, go Carl.
Yeah, just what Darren said, really. Obviously, we weren't in the tournament. We've snuck in through the back door, and I suppose, I mean, you just got to look at the positives, haven't you? I've not really once thought anything like, oh, I've missed the boat in the final or anything like that. Just thought, well, we got to the final and Dino's back in the mix. Got his queuing arm going again. Smelt a bit of blood. And obviously, back in the combat for me.
Yeah, I guess.
I've finished a tournament and I've walked away from it with a hell of a lot of positives. Where obviously a week ago I'm thinking, will I ever get back into a major final, even though it was doubles? But it was great to feel that pressure and everything else, and feel the Matchroom event and know that I can still do it. Obviously, didn't play great in the final, but I don't think any player played great in the final. Probably Josh played pretty good, but yeah, disappointed with the final because we probably put a bit more expectation on ourselves in the final just because of the way we played in the quarters and the semis. So I think we both felt deep down that we was the favourites going into the final. And maybe that just changed our feeling, I would think. I don't think it really affected our like pressure got to us or nerves. I just think we just felt a little bit more, this could really happen and what a great story it would be. So maybe that was a little bit of pressure in itself, and we felt that everyone else wanted us to win as well. So yeah, it's just like, it would have been incredible to win it. It was like, we were very close to how we felt in the old days. I think if we played that final 6-7 years ago, I'm pretty confident that we would have won.
Yeah. How did it all come about? I mean, I know we've heard the story of 27 missed calls by Darren, but I'm guessing Emily approached you first, Carl, and said, "Listen, the Canadians are not going to make it, so you're in." Was it a case of you're playing with Darren, or who do you want to play with?
No,
whose choice was it to have Darren as your partner?
No, I didn't get a choice. It weren't really like that. I just woke up on the second day of the event, and I'd had a missed call off Nick. So I rang him up. He just said Canada have had a mare or something. He didn't really go into detail. He says, you need to get hold of Darren. And that's basically what happened. So I didn't really have conversations with anyone. I just tried to get Darren out of bed after that.
Okay, so you were picked as I mean, obviously, you know, it makes sense because you're already there. But you were picked as a pair.
Yeah, I think just because I was there, I was obviously negative. I think because it was the World Cup as well, the fact that we've obviously won it before. So, you know, Darren can get down there, and obviously, you know, it's a good story and everything. But I mean, at the end of the day, who else do you pick? Like, because I'm not really sure who else he's playing anyway. So there's not like loads to pick from. So
at the end of the day, the entertainment, bringing a nice what would potentially be a great story, and obviously we've won it before, so I guess we obviously Carl was there. I was only a couple of hours away, so end of the day, it's an invitation tournament. They can do what they want. So
yeah,
obviously I understand there's a couple of players what's very disappointing, like Mark Gray, maybe Imran Majid, with Carl getting picked particularly because he hasn't played for 4 years. But at the end of the day, it's Matchroom's event. They've got to put a show on, and obviously Carl's box office, isn't it? So
well, it looks pretty genius in hindsight when you miss your first ball in basically the fourth match. I mean, what are you going to complain about?
TV player, baby.
It's all about the viewers and entertainment, and obviously they look at it like, well, we're past champions, and obviously it's all about television. So I guess that probably gave us the nod, really.
Yeah, but I mean, going back, I mean, you mentioned Carl hasn't played for 4 years. Watching you play, it almost seemed like that was an advantage to you, because I think a mistake a lot of players make when they're on the Matchroom table is they try and play the same game that they always play on other tables, on club tables. And you can't really play that same game. You've got to make adjustments. You've got to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say defensive, but you've got to know your limitations on that table and play the situation it is. And you avoided certain shots because you hadn't played for 4 years. But it was still on that table at that moment in time, it was the right shot to play. It just happened to be the shot that you had to play because you hadn't played for 4 years. And I think a lot of other players should have played different shots and been taken a little bit less risk, left maybe a longer pot, but be on the right side of the ball, rather than trying to get too close for the partners.
Yeah, I think obviously because I've not played, but obviously I was involved in the Moscone, so I seen everything that the players were doing in the practice room leading up to the events. So you sort of never really lose that kind of mindset. But a few of the conversations me and Daz was having at the table were pretty funny, really. But I don't think you could hear.
We could hear them.
Table. Like, there were one shot right early on against South Africa. He said, "Oh, I'll just put the cue ball there, and you can spin 3 rails." And I went, "I ain't spinning no ball today. We'll save that for tomorrow." You know what I mean? Just because you've got to try and get a feel. But I suppose everybody's got to try and get a feel, really. And I think that's the one thing we did well, really, between us. Forget the playing and all that. I think we just off the table, everything just worked well. Even like pre-shot, we just always seemed to have a good little system and a plan, and we just knew our strengths, really. Do you know what I mean? That's the beauty with doubles as well, because obviously if one guy's struggling and the other one's not, usually they're going to take on the pot or the big shot, or same with the safeties, or even like the lag. I never used to lag. Daz has got he always had a better cue ball than me, so he did the lag and I did the first break. It was just automatic, really.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess you just sort of fell back on everything you knew working together. I mean, once your partner's down the shot, you're kind of out of the play. It's completely up to them. But everything that happens before then and sitting in the seat is the same as it's always been, I guess, even in 2014. Nothing's changed since then. The only thing that's maybe changed is when you're over the shot and you're going to stroke it, then it's you that's got to do it. But the rest is all the same, I guess.
The good thing with us is that we didn't need to practice before the tournament. We know each other's game inside out. We know each other's mentally. We know how we're both feeling. We know when to step forward and when to step back. We know when to let the other guy shoot. So it's just a perfect partnership. We always find a way to win, even when we're not playing well. We always find a way for one of us to carry each other. And that's the key, really, to doubles, is that you got to trust each other. You've got to drop your egos. You've got to think, right, who's going to play this shot? And you've got to be honest to yourself straight away. You can't be thinking, oh, I want to play this shot because it's on TV. If I make it, I look good. So to us, it's always been about winning and finding a result, and I think we've been good at doing that. I think the first 2 matches we probably played our C game, the quarter-final, semi-final, played our A game, maybe just below A game, let's say. But I think obviously we played near perfect pool, the semi-final and quarter-final, but we didn't feel great at the table, but we just managed to find a way to run the balls out. Where the final, we played our B game, and we grinded really well from 5-2 to, let's say, 5-5 and 6-6. At that stage, we're thinking, right, let's kick on. But obviously, you all saw what happened. The balls didn't allow us to win, let's say. But that's just part of the game. But we give it 110%, and that's all you can do. And I think on another day, we'd be sat here, the winners of the World Cup, which would be incredible, really.
Times 2.
Yeah.
Real quick, Jim. I want to ask one question to Carl. So we had already talked a little bit about this, but were you given an option to say no to playing in this, or were you just told you were playing in it?
Oh no, I mean, if I didn't want to play, I wouldn't have played at the end of the day. But one thing since I've kind of gone working with Matchroom is I've just said yes to everything. So I think. I
think that's the way to go.
We've heard that, Carl. I mean, we've heard that.
If you remember, was it 2018 Moscone? When it was in London, was it 2018? 17. Whichever the Moscone
17.
was.
It was 17.
I went. It was
18.
No, the even years are young London.
Yeah, 18. Yep. And I went down there, and they did fancy dress, and they said, "Oh, you're going to do the fancy dress competition." They give me the microphone in the middle of the arena with all you drunk guys there. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So I've always just kind of been thrown in and just said, yeah, really. And then in 2019 in Vegas, I did the VIP on the microphone with everyone eating the dinners. So I've just always said, yeah. But I think just because I was there and I was negative, it was a case of, oh, he'll play. But if I said no, then, yeah, I wouldn't have played. But what are you going to say no for?
Yeah. I got robbed in that fancy dress, by the way.
End of the day,
I got completely robbed.
$3,000, right? What was it? $3,000 guaranteed for the first round. So
yeah, and plus, at the end of the day, it was it's a doubles event. It's always been one of my favourite tournaments. Obviously, we've won it before. We've always had good success. So I just thought, just try and sneak past the first match, and you're off and running, really.
Yeah. How does?
Even though we've won it once, we could have easily won this tournament 3 times, because the last time we played together in 2015, we lost in the semis to Taiwan, and that's probably the most disappointed we've ever been after losing a match. I mean, straight after we lost that match, we went to the pub and got smashed across the road. I mean, that was a tough one to take. But we have got a good record. We finished fifth, first, third, and second in the World Cup of Pool. So it's a pretty good record.
Yeah. And how does the pressure change when you go on? I guess this is more for Carl's. I mean, Darren's still a competitor, a true competitor. So he's gone out there. He's got the invite. He's thinking, I want to win this. You, I guess, probably went into this thing, like you said in some of your interviews, I just don't want to miss easy balls and look like an idiot kind of thing. At what point does the pressure change when you start thinking, hold on a minute, I'm not just filling in here. We might actually win this. And then what does that do with your game when you've been out for so long and you start feeling that little pressure again? Because I guess that's where you really start to miss the fact that you've not really been active, is when it all starts to get a bit real and you start thinking about winning. When does that kind of start happening? How does it change you?
Yeah, I think when I used to play pool on the circuit, I never really used to think like that anyway. I mean, obviously Daz has he's got that in him anyway as a player. Probably why he's done, so well and won a lot. Maybe why I didn't. I was always just kind of like getting on with the flow and just trying to do what I was doing, really. But I don't know. I think when you play on TV, it's just in them type of tournaments, you just got to try and play and handle the situation however you handle. But it's all about experience. You can see that with some of the other players, what play on TV, like this, the World Pool Masters coming up. I'm looking forward to see how Jakob Cornier plays against Shane, because he looked really good in the doubles event. So now we can see him playing in a singles event against obviously Shane. And you just, I don't know. It's just a bit of a different, especially doubles. I mean, you've got someone to talk to. So I don't know if the pressure's ever
the load.
There, but say again.
It's like I think if Carl would have got asked to play with anyone else in this particular tournament, I don't think they would have done any good. Just because it's like you feel comfortable with a certain person. I was the same, and you need that trust and you need that understanding. You got to understand each other's game. So I think it just helped both of us really, and obviously the deeper we went, then obviously, I think once we got to the semis, then we really believed we could win it. I think once we beat Holland, then we thought, oh, shit, there could be a chance.
Yeah. and it would have been an automatic invite next year as well.
Well, that was the carrot, really. I mean, that would have been a right story, because Carl wouldn't have played again until next year, and then we'll have gone there and I'll kicking Jason out the team. Let's say if it's in a different country. So
exactly.
Jason and Chris were like praying we got in the final.
Yeah, because I mean everything's getting played in the UK at the moment because of the whole COVID thing. It wouldn't surprise me if next year, when everything opens up, the Matchroom says, right, we're going to start traveling with our tournaments. Let's get the World Cup of Pool out of the UK. Let's get the Masters out of the UK. Out of Gibraltar and go somewhere else, or the World Championships. And then Jason and Chris are sitting there going, holy crap, we don't have a B team anymore. We're not in the World Cup of Pool. I mean, how would a Matchroom have sorted that one out?
I think even if it's in the UK next year, and there's obviously two teams for the home nation, I still think Kelly and Alison will be the B team, which is okay. I have no problem with that. And obviously the A team would have been me and Carl, which would have been amazing, really.
I'd actually like to throw something in.
They changed the team for like Jason's benefit, so it would have been quite ironic, really, if me and Carl would have won it, and like Jason's out the team.
They'd have to go back to Team Scotland again,
yeah, maybe.
just to get him in. Don't call me.
Yeah.
Don't call me. I'm not going out there and showing my ass to everybody.
Oh, don't worry, Jim. They won't call you.
I've got a serious question. You know, you're talking about like Chris and Jason being a team, and then the two ladies, Alison and Kelly. There's almost a part of me that thinks you'd be better doing Jason and Kelly and Chris and Alison, because I think Chris and Jason's biggest problem. Oh,
me and Alison. And Chris Shaw, he should never play in the World Cup of Pool ever again.
Oh. But I seriously think that Chris and Jason would get on better if they both had a partner that doesn't consider themselves equal with them. You know what I mean?
It's like Jason. I think Jason would do better with me or Carl, and Chris would probably do better with someone like even Carl himself. You know what I mean? Because it's tough to play. It's difficult to play together when you both got more or less the same game. You've both got a big ego. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but they have. And when there's a bit of confusion about who should be playing what shot, and there's that little bit of doubt, thinking, well, maybe I should have let Jason play that shot, or Jason's thinking maybe I should have let Chris play that shot, then it isn't going to work. You can get away with it, and you can still win because they're that talented, but you need to be on the same page, big time.
But that's it.
I think Jason and Kelly would be a great pairing. And
yeah,
I mean, Alison, it was a really, really cool story to see Alison back in the ring, but she doesn't play and she doesn't act like she plays. So I love the idea of seeing her out there, but I think even if you ask her with how much she plays, I don't think she would say that she deserves to be there. I would like to see maybe a Chris and like Chris and Darren or some. I mean, yeah, I just don't think that I don't think that Alison needs to continue getting invites as long as she's not playing.
End of the day, team play is completely different to singles, and as much as what Chris is talented, he's not performed well in any doubles tournament over the years. Mosconi and the World Cup of Pool, his record's really poor. So that's not. I'm not knocking him. It's just that team event is for some people, and it doesn't suit others. And unfortunately for Chris, he hasn't done well in any form of doubles tournament.
And I think it goes back to what you said. You know, you and Carl, you've got it pretty much down. Darren does the lag. Carl takes the first break. You've played so often together, and you'll look at your first shot. You know, if your opponent's got the break and you've got to choose who goes first, you look at the shot, and you both know which one of you should be playing that shot. I think with Jason and Chris, they're both saying, "No, I should play it. No, I should." Yeah, or they're both saying, "No, you should play it." And it doesn't work that way. There's no. Like you said, they're too similar. They both think they're able to play the same shots, rather than having the situation where they're covering all the bases, where it's clearly you should play that shot and clearly I should play this shot. That doesn't seem to exist in their team.
And it's like if you go back even further, Mike, look at Mark Gray and Daryl Peach. They play very well together. They got to the finals. You know what I mean? And again, they was on the same page, where when I played with Mark, it didn't quite work. We was okay. When I've seen Carl play with Daryl, it just didn't work. Where I think someone like Chris and Carl, that's a possibility for Chris. But me and Chris hasn't worked in the past. So for me personally, Jason, if I'm playing all the time and I'm playing my best pool, then I think I am the best partner for Jason going forward, just because Carl obviously doesn't play anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't argue
Interesting.
That. Carl, what do you think about that?
Jason needs that little bit of guidance, even though he's a great player.
Yes.
He still makes a lot of wrong decisions at the table. So he just needs that little guidance and saying, well, maybe you should do this, Jason. Or he might even come to me and look and say, what do you think about this shot? Where him and Chris don't do that. Where me and Carl are communicating all the time. Sometimes just with our eyes, you know what I mean?
I think it's also a natural built-in respect that you have for your partner as well. I think there's certain players that can tell you to play a shot and you don't even doubt what they're telling you, because you know it's probably the right shot. where I think the two of them are discussing which shot, and they don't believe each other, maybe, or they think my idea is better than your idea, or I don't know.
I think I spotted something in there was playing against the first match they played where Jason played really poor, and I think it was like in the middle of the match, and they had a tough first shot, and Jason went straight to the table and played the shot and missed it. Yeah. But this particular match, Chris played really well in the first match, right?
He should have been taking that shot.
It just didn't make any sense. Where the second match, Chris, it was Jason who played really well, and Chris who didn't play well, and it was the same thing. Like Chris will like step into the table to play the tougher shots, and I'm thinking they're just confusion.
Yeah.
Where with me and Carl, after the second match, I basically said to myself, any tough shots now, Carl, you're shooting the balls. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, even halfway through the second match, against Greece, I think we had like a long one ball at 5-4, and Carl says like, "Who's taking this shot?" And I've like looked at him to say, "Are you fucking stupid?"
I can remember one of the conversations you had. I can remember one of the conversations you had on the microphone was hanging behind you in the chairs. And I think JJ, it was against South Africa, and I think JJ missed he got left on the bottom cushion with a cue ball, and he had to play the 9 at the centre, and he missed it. So the 9 was on the table. You guys hadn't been at the table yet. So you had to decide who was going to play it. You stood up to go and look at it. Carl just stayed in his chair.
Yeah.
I'm not getting up. I'm not getting up. And then, he basically said, I ain't playing that shot.
Because it's all about, with that shot, you've got to roll it. You have
exactly.
Yeah. There was another situation later on that I laughed so hard at. Carl had a shot, and it was just a shot that you just gotta kind of cinch it in, and you gotta leave a really, really tough shot at it. And you just did he did exactly what he needed to do. And Darren comes up to the shot for his opportunity, and you just see Carl in the background just walking over and sitting down in his chair, like, all right, he's gonna dog this. and Darren drills the shot. Darren drills the shot, and Carl just was like, "Oh." Stands up and scurries towards the table, like, yeah.
I remember
that was in the first match.
Good conversation, especially after the rack. We like to talk about the old rack.
And it was really cool.
It just works because it sort of helps us for the next rack and just keeps us like on the same page and just feeding off each other and just helps with the nerves and everything else. And even at the table, like, I mean, some of the things we say at the table, you don't pick it up on camera all the time, so it's quite funny.
Yeah, you guys are.
But I think it was a good.
But I tell you what,
good introduction having the microphones behind you. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that.
Do better than anybody else is manage the clock.
Yeah,
manage the clock very well.
That's because you're not discussing things. You're not discussing who's right and who's wrong. You're just saying, okay, do you fancy it? No, all right, I'll play it. And it's
when we haven't got an extension, we just step back really. After 5 seconds, we know what we're doing, and the other guy gets out of the way.
The only thing I would say about the microphone behind, and maybe Emily's watching, get water bottles. I don't know how many times you just hear people pouring water, and it's just like, it's like the grossest sound in the entire world when you're listening to the players, and it's just like drip, 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 drip.
Yeah, it was picking up the water every single time.
Oh, it's so disgusting. It's such a disgusting sound. It's like somebody's
you're in the middle of a conversation, and we're listening to what you're saying, and all you hear is look, 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 look.
Yeah, you got to get water bottles. That's the mics were fantastic, but you got to get water bottles. You just got to.
But I want to ask just one more question on the World Cup pool.
Let me jump in really quickly because I want to get the fan questions in because there's been plenty of fan questions, and then we'll go back so we don't lose these. Salato asks, how big of an advantage was it for you and Darren, Carl, to be able to play with you since you know each other so well?
Yeah,
you guys touched on that a little bit already. So
yeah, obviously just the fact that we've been in in that arena many times together in front of the fans at the Mozza, and obviously we've won the World Cup. So that's. Once you've got that experience, that's it. Money can't buy it.
Yep.
And
some guy named Paol Kuk asked, "Do you think at this level of the pro?
Do you think at this level the pros are at? Do you think call pocket needs to be incorporated into the 9-ball rules?
Well, it's a funny one, really. I don't know. I mean, I think it would be a good thing if it was call pocket.
Would have been in the final.
Yeah, it would have been in the final. Yeah, but
yeah, we'd be congratulating you as champions right now, I think.
Yeah, but I suppose from a TV angle and like logistics, I don't know. I suppose it would need to be tested. I think as long as you've got players commentating and like the referees are making it aware, so it becomes a bit more of a spectacle, I think it could work. But I don't know. I just think like after the final, when I was on the Matchroom pool page looking at I only looked at maybe 15 comments. Like 99% of the comments was all, "Oh, Germany got lucky. Germany got lucky." And I think, is that really what you want people to talk about the game?
The only thing I would say about it is when you're at the Mosconi Cup, when nothing gets that crowd going louder and more crazy than if somebody jumps a ball in. I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest crowd is like whenever somebody jumps a ball in, the entire crowd just goes crazy. The second one is when you fluke a ball. And then it's just like one side of the room is like, oh, and the other side of the room is like, yeah, he called that. Let's go. Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think to me, what makes it exciting, just like anything else, is when the matches are close.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we did the champion of champions. They used to have to call the 9-ball only. I sort of like that rule because I played Torsten 1 year in the final, and I missed the 9-ball, Hill, and fluked it, but obviously it didn't count.
Right.
So
I think you've got.
How unlucky is that for it to be call shot on the 9-ball?
I think you've got to
deserve to win that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you've got to look at it from two sides, you know? I mean, Matchroom are putting on an event. They're televising it on Sky, on DAZN, and all over the world. You can watch it. You've got to look at it from a pool. Most of the people that watch pool are pool players, you know? But you also want to expand it to an audience outside of just the pool world. You want to get outside of that pool bubble. And I think if you're going to attract people from outside that don't know the game and don't play the game, these are the kind of things they want to see. Those controversial moments, those moments where somebody's sitting in their seat just thinking, what has just happened to me? The gods have gone against me. You know, they want to see that. The reactions you're getting from so lucky it should be call shot, they're all from players who don't want it to happen to them and don't like to see it happen to other players. Yeah, but the outside world who don't play and are just watching it for the first time, they're thinking, oh, wow, that's... You know, and they're enjoying these moments. So it's a balance between, you know, not as a player you don't want to see it happening because you hate it when it happens to yourself. But for the fan, when I'm watching tennis, you know, or if I'm watching the Grand Prix, I'm looking for somebody to crash. I don't want somebody to die, but I'm looking for cars to hit each other and a bit of action kind of thing. You know, as a driver, you don't want to see people obviously getting in these situations. It's all about, you know, what attracts you to come and watch it again. And I think the flukes and those moments are, you know, that's the excitement that an outsider will probably come back to watch again. As a player, it's just horrible to watch, you know?
Yeah. And you've got to think about the betting as well, like, because there's people what bet on matches, bet on a certain player, and that player gets really lucky and then it gets taken away. It sort of leaves a sour taste in the mouth for that particular fan, let's say. I think it's really tricky. Like the luck in the game, but at the same time, with pool, there's too much luck in pool compared to other sports where I like to see like the big bounce off the tree on the fairway and come into the fairway. It's just part of the sport, isn't it? But obviously, as players, we don't want luck in the game. Well, we want to try and eliminate it as much as possible. So maybe there's something they can do to limit it a little bit. I don't know exactly what the answer is for that, but.
To expand upon that gambling part of it too, I mean, there's a lot of people that will bet. You know, why would you ever bet against? You know, if you're going to bet a 10-ball tournament, you are never ever going to take like a Sanjin over even like a Joshua Filler or something like that. But in 9-ball, I mean, that's it's a game that inherently can be lucky, and you can pick some upsets, and you can take some gambling flyers on people just for those types of opportunities. I think that's exciting as the viewer as well.
Certainly the short races. Yeah.
I think
comment here, a guy saying I think there's more luck in snooker than pool. I mean, I don't know what he's been watching, but I mean, there's the pool in my 9-ball pool is the luckiest sport ever invented. It's as simple as that. But at the time, it requires a lot of skill. It requires really strong mentality. You need really good, really need to be strong under pressure, great temperament. So there's lots of aspects in 9-ball pool where it doesn't come into play in all other sports. And I mean, pool's just brutal.
I would say the snooker comment maybe is because, if you get into late game situations, maybe it's very common to miss if you miss a pot on something to end up fluking a safety out of it just because the pockets are so brutal. I mean, it's very, very common to fluke something like that. Now, I think that's the kind of the heart of maybe what they're saying, but we don't have to expand upon that.
I think moving forward though, I think if let's just say us four was on a tour and we was playing professional pool, and let's just say you had one tournament a month. That's only 12 events, right? One a month, wherever it is in the world, and you was getting let's just say you was getting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just to show up, right? I'm not saying the money has to be like $4 million to the winner and all this, but I don't think it would really matter about the luck because everyone would be happy because you're nicking the money, right? I think it's only getting spoken about because it's like, oh, when's the next event? There's not enough pool tournaments. And also, I think the fact that this World Pool Masters is following the World Cup of Pool so soon because that usually doesn't happen with Matchroom.
No. Yeah.
So
it's probably
everyone's talking about it and everyone's buzzing. So all of a sudden
there is a buzz, which is what we need. We need more of these buzzes.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got another, and then obviously you're going to have the World
Pool
Championships.
Yeah, the World 9-ball.
Right. So it's like that's what's key, I think.
Yeah.
We need a regular pro tour where if there's luck in the game, there's luck in the game because you're thinking, well, you always can look forward to the next time, which is next month.
Exactly. You don't. It doesn't hurt as bad.
Be a bit of luck.
It's like making the cut in golf. It doesn't really matter because there's a tournament every single weekend. All you're trying to do is get a paycheck by making the cut.
Yeah,
right?
You're not going to keep getting unlucky. If you're playing enough pool tournaments, it's going to be your day at some point. It's just we need the pool tournaments.
Yeah, we need more.
I got one more question just on the World Cup pool. Then I don't know. I'm trying to. I'd like to go on to something else after that. This World Cup of pool, because of the pandemic, we've got to see a lot of teams that possibly wouldn't have been there normally. Because we
had no Asian teams, no Chinese teams, no Taipei, stuff like that.
So I think it's great for them all to get the opportunity to play on TV. But if this all opens up again and we get like the strongest field again, do you think anybody did enough there to push anybody out of the what you would say the teams that have established themselves? Did any of the new ones that you saw think, hold on a minute, there's established teams that probably should be stepping aside now because
how can you not
these
have
new
Slovakia
generations are coming through?
Right.
Well,
how can you?
For a start, that's a guaranteed. Germany was a big step up. Their team's obviously improved. And obviously the main one for me would be Slovakia.
Yeah, Slovakia has to get invited back, right? A semifinals.
What a great time. It's great to see unknown players who actually can play the game get an opportunity and really step up. And they play some great pool, you know what I mean? They play some great pool.
Yeah. They beat Austria. Right.
But this would be my worry. That these teams have been given the first chance. They performed really, really well. But as soon as the Asians come back, and of course, China need to have a team, Taiwan need to have the team, they all need to have a team.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like to see these teams now be told, well, thank you for taking part that 1 year. You did really, really well. But now we've got our A players back again and you're not in again.
There wasn't a single South American team, too, either, right? Yeah. The last time that they had Chile there, Brazil, and I believe Argentina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think going forward, you're going to see more international teams like Argentina, Brazil, China's going to be back, Taiwan. which is great. But at the end of the day, there was teams what was given chances this year, and they didn't perform at all. So,
well, maybe the question is, maybe this begs
who them teams were. So,
maybe this begs the question. I think maybe it has to get opened up to 48 teams, right? 48 teams, and then you give the top 16 teams a bye into the next round, just like they did for the Whirlpool Masters.
It's not a bad call, but it requires more prize money, obviously. But it's a decent call.
I think there's still some weaker teams, though, isn't there?
Yes.
There was some there was like some there was 4 or 5 teams there where you're thinking, well,
there is space. There is space to put these players in, but
Well, let me ask you this question. I mean, and I get exactly what you guys are talking about, and I think there are 4 teams that you could look at and be like, well, okay, they got a spot here basically as a token thank you. But the idea is, what would have happened if you guys would have, or if Austria would have came out and just whitewashed Slovakia, right? You know, like they're supposed to, 7-1 or 7-2. We'd be saying the same thing about Slovakia, but you know, you'd never look at Slovakia and say that this is a team that belongs in the semifinals, right?
Yeah, but if people people what play in Europe and play on the Euro Tour knew that this team was dangerous because Jakob Connier is a very good player on the Euro Tour. So we all knew straight away, this is not a bad team, actually. But if they'll have got beat, they'll have got beat. At the end of the day, I look at life as an opportunity. If you get given an opportunity, you just got to try and grab it with both hands. And Slovakia did that for me. I think, take away me and Cal's story, I think they were probably like the team of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, certainly after day one, I would say coming into it, I think Kelly and Allison would be.
Oh, and Estonia, what a great story! Also, they're probably my favorite team to watch, just because they're so fun. You know what I mean? And
just because they're either going to play really well or they're going to have a fight. That's why they're so good to watch.
Estonia and Slovakia is amazing. I mean, great entertaining teams to watch, and they're both really surprised everybody. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good. So Jim, you wanted to move on. Is there I do have one more question for Carl.
Yeah.
And I think it's an easy one for you, but it just has to be answered. I know in the past you have said that if you could only play Matchroom events, you would still be a pool player to this day. What you didn't like is grinding out the Euro tours to try to qualify for the different events and going to China, doing all those different things like that. I think with this kind of success, are you still in that same mindset?
Yeah, definitely.
Where you're not interested in playing?
No, I mean, I'm not interested in playing like Euro tours and all that.
I thought you were going to Austria for Euro Tour next month.
No, you won't be seeing me in Austria, pal. Maybe on the Alps, that's it. But yeah, it's just not for me. I think obviously when you have kids, it's easy for rich sports people to be flying around the world earning the big money, but when you're playing in very, very poor tournaments and not getting treated with any respect at all, I just think that's a bit of a waste of time. Yeah, I mean, obviously Matchroom, when I quit, they only had the 3 tournaments: the Masters, the World Cup, and the Mosconi. Still not quite enough to tempt me to get the queue back out, but who knows? Who knows?
The problem with Carl, right, is that he hated the traveling side of it. Obviously, he's got 2 kids, but he's like Carl wants to be a professional, and we've never really been professionals, really. I mean, proper sports people. You know what I mean? So Carl is, but the problem with Carl now, right?
Table and everything.
You want me to carry your queue?
But the problem with Carl now, right, is that he's employed by. He's employed by Matchroom, right? He's employed by Matchroom. He's actually got a real job, a job that he really enjoys. Where I think if Carl wasn't working for Matchroom and Matchroom started a pro tour, he would 110% be getting his queue back out.
I'll just play World Cup of pool every year with you. That'll do.
Yeah,
there must have been. I mean. Okay, yeah, you talk about the traveling and you're not going to go back to that lifestyle again. But you must have been at the table during the World Cup and pool and thought, this is kind of where I belong, you know, playing
because,
this game. It must have got the juices flowing again.
Yeah, and even when I was at the Moscone, I know there was no crowd, but when you're watching the players play, I didn't quit because I couldn't pot 3 balls. I quit because of what we just said. But it goes back to you just need more tournaments, don't you?
Proper tournaments.
Yeah, proper tournaments.
10, 12 tournaments a year.
Yeah, even if it was 12. I mean, 12's not actually a lot of tournaments, is it really? But
12 would be an amazing start.
Well, I mean, there are, to be fair to the industry, I mean, there are easily 12 tournaments that are real pool tournaments every single year. The problem is you got to travel to 7 different countries to get to those, right?
But
the problem is that they're not all overseen by the same governing body that gives you a reward for what you do over those 12 tournaments. You're picking little bits out of about 4 or 5 different pies instead of there being one big pie where you're getting the benefit of how you perform as an average over those 12 tournaments, rather than just trying to win. Yeah, just try win 1 or 2 or get deep in 1 or 2. You know, that's the problem. It has to be a proper tour overseen by one governing body.
And this is why the rankings have been false all this time. Mm-hmm. The rankings, we have never had a proper ranking system. There's no structure, and you hit it on the head. I mean, I remember winning a tournament in America where it was like $20,000 to the winner, and I didn't get no ranking, no nothing, didn't count towards anything. You're just playing for the money, and nobody knows about it. Where if you win a Matchroom event, all like in pool, let's say, and your friends who watch pool, they all know about it. And that's the key for me, is that we need 8 to 10 events from Matchroom, start a proper pro tour, and then we all have a chance. And then obviously tournaments like the Predator events, what they're going to be doing, the Predator Pro Tour, that's going to be decent. And then you've got the World 10 Ball, which is obviously a good tournament. International Open, which is a good tournament. So then pool looks pretty good again. You know what I mean? It looks like it could have a future, but we all need to be under the same umbrella, and they all need to follow Matchroom. I think our best opportunity for pool,
our only opportunity,
is under Matchroom.
At the moment. Yeah.
Our only. I mean, I mean, you guys, we had a little bit of fun with Raj earlier, but Nathan Damalin, I hope that I pronounced that right. I mean, he's starting up the PBL, and I mean that seems to be a really exciting thing, and he's had some experience in the industry before with the bonus ball stuff in Vegas, but with COVID, I mean, he's been set so far behind on that. I mean, that sounds like a really, really interesting concept. I don't even know that too many people know about it, but that's a potential competitor. I don't know if you want to say competitor or somebody who's helping the industry. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how. I guess it kind of depends on whatever Matchroom thinks as whether or not they're a competitor. But that's an interesting concept for the future. But who knows?
Now, with all due respect, Matchroom Sport, Barry Earn and the team of people that work there, they're proven to have done it in the past for years.
With everything, yeah. Everything that they touch succeeds.
And they're still doing
about $1 billion company.
Yeah, everything that they touch.
They are on a different level from everybody else.
It was like $300,000 or $400,000 on like the US Open, for example. I'm pretty sure they probably lost like $300,000 or $400,000, but they're not going to keep doing that every year, right? They're not going to keep doing that every year, where nobody else in the pool world can even afford to even risk losing that much money.
Yeah, and the one thing you can guarantee about Matchroom and Barry Hearn and the family that they've got there, they're not going to accept losing money. So they are going to keep putting the work in to try and grow as much as possible to make sure first that they make a profit. Yeah. And that automatically means more exposure,
business, right?
For
pool players
looking after their own interests will inevitably grow the sport and get more exposure for it anyway.
Pool players are so short-sighted that they're constantly looking for what can you do for me right now. So I agree with all that.
And the other thing as well is that they're business people. They're proper business people working for them.
So
everyone
who
knows them, who knows anything about sports, who's involved in sports. They know who Matchroom Multisport is. I mean, they're massive. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
And the only pool player they turned him into a commentator.
Yeah, and that's
I'll throw some.
he doesn't want to play pool for a living because he really loves the job, and he's going to get more and more work from it, and he's obviously really improved in that side of it, which is good for him. And it's a proper job, you know what I mean? But something he loves doing, so even better.
I got a question. Do you think that Matchroom could benefit from getting more input from perhaps a group of players or a consortium of players? Because yes, they are very, very good at the business side of it. I don't know how much they pick your brain, Carl, as far as how they're setting up the arena and that sort of thing. But I personally have the feeling that they do everything really, really great. It's just missing a little bit of input from actual players, experienced players, on what a player needs, on what good conditions are, playing conditions. For example, there not being a carpet there this year, I thought was a mistake. I think the table played a bit more funky because of it, you know. And I know they're trying different things, and some of the things they're doing is really, really good. I just think they're falling short on, at the moment, not falling short, but they could do a little bit more as far as, you know, what's going to give the players the best conditions to actually perform as good as they possibly can, you know?
Yeah, I think obviously, you mentioned about the carpet thing there. It's more just a case of trying things out, see what looks good on TV, try and find, you know.
But that's what I mean. What looks good on TV is not necessarily what's best for the game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I'm going to push back on you with, like, I don't think Matchroom really necessarily cares if the players play their absolute best game, right? I think it's more exciting to watch missed balls and safety battles and stuff like. I think it's more exciting than to watch them run out of every single rack that they get to.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget. I think Daz, the Mosconi you played in last in London, them pockets was absolutely obscene how big he was.
It was I could have ran a table on those.
So obviously, like Rasson, you know, they've listened to whoever they've listened to, and the pockets of, you know, they've been made tighter with a deeper shelf. I just think everything like that. I don't really. I mean, obviously, players might have a different view, but I don't.
Definitely the players regards the pockets, because I had the conversation with her back 6 years ago, and she always remembers that conversation. Obviously, I think she had the conversation with me and Carl, because me and Carl were like big on it. Because I said, look, the game looks too easy on TV anyway, but you put like 5-inch pockets out there where they're playing like 6-inch, and it just looks like a joke. Yeah. And then you had other people who were thinking they know something about the game, who work for Matchroom at that time, saying, oh, no, it's best to have big pockets. You see a lot more shot making, the banking. I goes, yeah, but it's a joke.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get rewarded for, like, dogging a ball.
No.
And the amount of times you are seeing players dogging balls and the ball's still going in the pocket.
You shouldn't see a ball hit the second diamond and going down the long range.
I can still remember the 7 ball that Mark Gray made one year when he hit the second diamond on the long rail.
You should not be hitting the second diamond and having a ball go into a professional pool table.
I'm all for, like, the pockets the way they are now are perfect. They're not too tight and they're not too big, but it still allows the shot making. But at least when you miss it badly, you miss it. You know what I mean? And that's what it should be. So
I saw some balls hang. I saw some balls hang at the World Cup of Pool that I was glad to see hang. Because of the deep shelf. There was a couple that, you know, the commentators were mentioning, and Carl was mentioning. Okay, on a table in your club that's going to fall. I'm kind of glad it's not, because, you know, that table is so new. The new cloth, the shiny balls, the new balls. It is, you know, there are certain balls where you watch them going towards the pocket and you think that should miss. And I'm glad that they now are missing, you know.
Still going there, but that's depending on how you play and what speed you play. But going back to your question, I think Carl would probably agree, really, is that if we do have a proper pro tour, let's say Matchroom has a proper pro tour, I'm pretty sure that they would even encourage us to have a players' union. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's exactly where I was getting to.
Like all sports.
Like yourself, you've had experience with trying to start your own kind of tour, the World Pool Series. So you know a little bit about the do's and don'ts, and I think that's information that, you know, Matchroom could do it. And make the same mistakes that you've made, and it's just wasting time, kind of thing. They should be looking towards people that have tried it and find out the best way to do it.
Yeah, like player rep is important, because let's say like the World Cup pool, there was 1 or 2 teams there. Let's be honest, they're never going to get to pro level, right? So I think one or two guys like myself and Carl or whoever, someone like Ralph, can have a big input on which teams could potentially be a good team to play in the World Cup, or get some information on the players, let's say, before you choose them, which is not easy in the pool world. I mean, I didn't know anything about one or two of them teams in the World Cup pool, so I think stuff like that can be improved. I think Matchroom know that. I think they're always looking to learn. That's a good thing. But the main thing for me is that they love the game and they're passionate about it. So that really gives Pool a chance.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
since we've got these two here, can we talk about Mosconi Cup, Nate? Is that allowed?
I don't care. I mean, we don't really have anything to talk about for the Whirlpool Masters, right? Because neither player is going to be playing it. I mean, we can ask them if they have any picks or anything like that. They feel strongly about any storylines, but I don't. Unless you guys want to give your opinion on what you're looking for the Whirlpool Masters, or maybe we can put you on the spot and make you give us a pick right now.
Well, I don't know what's happening, Carl. Is there a crowd there?
No.
Locals are allowed in.
Yeah, small.
Yeah, locals are allowed in. I mean, I don't know anything about.
How do they decide who's local? Do you have to show a passport when you come to the door? Or what?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. How it's gone and stuff with tickets. I've not been to the venue yet. I've just been to the pub. That's it.
Is it in that same cold? Is it in that same cold sports hall that it's always in? Yeah.
No, it's
where you've got to wear a jacket.
It's in a different venue. It's where the snooker is played.
Okay.
So it's like the opposite end of the Rock. So, like I said, I've not been there yet. We're actually staying at the Elliott, which is right in the centre. Don't know if you've stayed here before, Daz, have you?
I think so.
I stayed at the Elliott when I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably better, to be fair, because you can just walk outside and everything's there in it. So that's all right. I'm going to go for Jason Shaw this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, Jason I think draw. I can't believe how brutal the bottom half of the draw is compared to the top half.
I think
from the bottom half, I'm going to pick Shane. I think he's got a point to prove. I did pick Albin the other day on another podcast I did, but after looking at his draw, he's got a brutal draw. So
killer, isn't it? It's deadly.
I changed my mind on that. So I'm going to say Shane because I think he's got a point to prove. And we all know he's very disciplined, where there's a few guys out there. I'm a little bit worried that they're having too many shandies. So I'm going to pick Shane from the bottom half. And from the top half, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Alex Kazakis to make the final.
Ooh, that's a call. That's a call.
I think he's due to play Al-Qaeda in the quarters, so I think the winner of that match will probably... but it depends on Jason as well. I mean, what state Jason going to be in and whether he's going to get himself together before the tournament. But Jason's a tough little section also, even though he's in that
They're all tough. Yeah. They're all tough and short race.
And Shane, final.
I think... talking about the bottom half of the bracket, I think 5 of the 6 best players in this tournament, at least with the form they're in right now, are on the bottom side.
Yeah, but remember, it's a race to 7, right? Winner break.
Yeah, it's a race to 7, but I would say of the top
guys want him getting out of their chair.
Is it winners breaks? Is it winner breaks? Yeah, this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Fedor Gorst, Shane, Filler.
Well, Fedor's another one I'm looking forward to seeing him perform in the Matchroom Arena. He still hasn't performed.
Never has yet, has he? No.
Unless it's been a team event, yeah.
To his best pull, you know what I mean? I mean, we've seen glimpses, but
even at Mosconi, it wasn't. Even at Mosconi, it wasn't the Fedor Gorst that we're used to seeing. So he hasn't really pulled out his A game yet on that matchroom table. How do you feel about winner breaks for these short races? Fan, no fan, just a yes or a no?
Yes.
It's like Carl says. I think if you're getting
just
paid,
a yes or a no.
if you're guaranteed money for the tournament, you don't really care. So whatever, really. I don't mind either way. I think I like it, but obviously when it goes against you, I don't like it.
Yeah, right.
I like it because it's another story point for the media world.
Yeah.
You know, you're on
Exactly. It's an opportunity for somebody to run an entire set and get a buzz going.
Yeah. So Jim, what are you thinking for the Masters? Give us your picks.
2 picks for the Masters. I'm going to go for Albin in the top half. In the bottom half. And I'm going to go for Jason in the top half.
Okay.
I think it'll be an all-European final.
Jason, look, where's Jason? Where's Jason?
Yeah, and
you asked me my opinion. Oh, listen,
where's my Jason?
Listen, if your face is going to be so close to the screen, do you really need those glasses on?
Yeah, that's a good point. Why have you got your Dennis Taylors on?
Yeah, exactly. Have you been practicing?
Taylor's on, and
he's practicing in case he gets a call for the Masters if somebody gets COVID.
Practice them 4 balls inside pocket.
I know what you're saying. I looked at the shot, I'm thinking, well, it isn't even a shot you can practice, is it? Just like stupid. That 5 ball though, that power draw.
Yeah, get a YouTube video, power draw, quick.
Oh, knob. Also, I think Catchy's getting close to playing really good in the matchroom events.
That's my
do something.
Hey, quit stealing my thunder. My pick is I think Kachi's the best player on the top side of the bracket. I mean, I know Jason is obviously Jason, but I mean, Kachi, every time you see the kid play, I mean, unless it's like in the singles at the Mosconi Cup, which he's even getting better at too. I mean, all he does is win. I think he's really get slept on in a lot of these events. I like Kachi coming out of the top side, and I agree with the Darren. I think Shane's got something to prove, and I think that he's going to come out firing. I think I like Shane on the bottom side.
Plus, it's win or break. It's win or break. If you guarantee the ball on the break, playing win or break, Shane is the man to beat.
Yeah.
If it was rack your own, then I'd have my money on Shane.
Yeah, man. But I think ultimately, I think Eglantine Kachi wins this event. And the crazy part about it is, I mean, he's got Petri Mikkonen in the first round. I mean, that's a tough match, but I mean, Eglantine's a big favorite. I would say Eglantine's a big favorite against Naoki Oi. I think Jason and Eglantine, I mean, if Eglantine gets by Jason, I mean, who comes out of the top side of that semifinals, David or Alex? I still like Eglantine over both of those players. I think Eglantine doesn't play a player that he really has to worry about.
I think, I mean, there's a load of players that can win it. There's a lot of players on there that can win it. I think if Jason hits a gear, nobody can.
Jason's a huge wild card, and I'm only saying that because
it's all about. It's like which Jason is going to show up. And if
he might not even get an opportunity at the table.
Yeah.
So whoever wins, it's play great, and they're going to need to get very lucky. But the dream final is Joshua versus Jason.
Yeah. But I think the winner will be somebody who's proved themselves on the matchroom table. I don't think it'll be a big surprise. I think it'll be somebody who's already performed well. Like we've talked about experience before, I think it's massive in these matchroom events. And I think it's going to.
There's no chance to start slow. You can't start slow.
I think it's going to be somebody who's done it before.
I'm going for Carl Boys. Last minute call, straight in there. He's back.
Well, if I do play, I'll be using somebody's cue.
The Bears. Charlie out there.
Might try somebody's Revo shaft.
Charlie Bear.
Just grab Shane or Fedor's breach and propel, and you'll be good to go. Just use those.
You can use Mellings. He's only going to need it once anyway.
He can use anything. If you look at his tip, it's
dirty. That was a rude thing you said, Jim. That was a very rude.
I want to talk about Mosconi Cup because this has gone on too long. We have the vice.
I went back.
We have the vice captain. We have a legend, and you've just played again with each other in the World Cup of Pool. Darren's kind of showing that he's on that matchroom table. You know, if you play smart and you've got his game and his knowledge, then you can perform on that table. And there's not a lot. I've had this conversation with you before in Vegas, I think it was, and we were talking about picks and we were talking about players playing. And your words were basically, you can either play on that table or you can't. It's a mindset. I want players who have done it before because I know they can. Doesn't matter if you're number one in the world. It doesn't mean to say you can play on that table. So you've got, you know, Darren has, I think 2016 was your last one, Darren?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like the end of the big run. 2017 was a bit of an easy one because it was, sorry?
End of the career.
Well, no, I don't. This is my question. This is going to be my question at the end of it. 2016 was number 7 in a row. You didn't play. 2016 number 7 in a row. 2017 you didn't play, but it was Johan's first year as Team USA captain, and they were basically a shambles. None of them were listening to Johan. They weren't playing well, so that was basically a walkover for Team Europe. And then it all started to turn. I don't know if it's a coincidence that it kind of coincided with when you stopped. I've had the conversation with Alex Lely in the run-up to the last Mosconi Cup, and we talked about the Darren Appleton role and the Darren Appleton effect in a team, kind of being like I think it's difficult sometimes for players to voice their concerns or their negative remarks towards the team captain, so they kind of keep it within themselves, and that transfers onto the table. I think maybe you were kind of that role as the connection between the team and the captain and keeping everybody, you were like the players' captain. And I think now that Carl's come back into the Mosconi Cup and Europe have now got a vice captain, maybe he's got that role. Am I kind of on the right track that might actually be the reason why USA actually got themselves back in it? There was no real leader within the team. You talk about the captain of the team or the coach, but there was nobody there to take the lead. Myself and Alex, we talked about it. We kind of thought, well, Jason, is Jason the kind of guy that could take that over? But now that you've shown that you can still play and you can still perform in that matchroom, what's the chances of Darren Appleton playing in the Mosconi Cup next year and taking his own role back, and it not just being the Darren Appleton role, it just being Darren Appleton?
Well, really quickly before Darren goes into this, what is Neil's? Wasn't that kind of Neil's role?
He doesn't like
Niels
it.
Was there?
No, Niels doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He likes to be on his own to prepare. He doesn't like to be involved in what everyone else is doing, I don't think.
I think we take it back from the start, right? We go back to 2009. I played in the Mosconi Cup in 2009, and it's probably the worst team I've ever played in my life. There was me, Niels, Mika, Ralph, and Torsten, and Alex Lely was a captain. Probably the best team ever on paper. There was five world champions in the team, right? But it was the worst team I've ever played in. There was no team spirit, just nothing really. There was no leader or anybody really bothered really. Just I'm thinking, what's going on here? So for my debut, it was a terrible experience. Regards being involved with 4 legends. I looked at them 4 guys as the best 4 players. Four of the top 5 players ever from Europe, right? At that time, excluding Oliver Ortmann, who in my opinion is probably still the best European player of all time when he's at his best. So anyway, it wasn't a great experience. Nobody really seemed to know what they wanted to do or knew what they was doing. So in 2010, for me, is when it all changed, because me and Carl come into the team, and we've always played team events all our lives, and we've captained teams, and we've done this. And we love that team environment. We love being the leaders of the team, bringing the fun to the where Carla bring the fun and the humour to the team, where I've been more serious on look guys, stop messing about, it's time to focus and all that stuff, and really encourage players, maybe help them a little bit with their game. And I think that's why we went on such a great run. So the years that Carl didn't make the team, we might have had a Chris Melling, or we might have had a 2006.
Nick Economopoulos wasn't.
I always felt like it was my job to really get behind the team. I'm not saying I coached them or anything, but I just love that team environment. And when me and Carl was together, I think it was even stronger. So I think once I stopped playing, there wasn't any natural leader, let's say, to help the captain. Obviously, Jason's still a bit inexperienced, I would say. He's still learning a lot about himself, never mind the game and the other players. And Niels is all about self preparing himself for his matches. Even though he's still a good team player, very good team player, he's not one of those guys what's going to take you to the side and give you a pep talk and all that stuff, where me and especially me, I'll sort of like doing that. And Carl's very good at keeping guys really calm, keeping them happy, So you have to have the right blend in the team. So obviously, like you said, 2017, 2018, and 2019, Europe didn't look a team. They didn't play well. And obviously, America stepped up because of Johan. Johan also made a huge difference. Also, he brought a lot of discipline, and he always said to me, like,
discipline year round too, not just 2 weeks before the event.
Yeah, Johan didn't take any nonsense. You know what I mean? So that was a big thing also. And then I think with the introduction of myself and Carl, and getting the right blend of players like Niels and everyone else, it just worked great. And I think they lost that for a while, the last 2 or 3 years. And even last year, after the first day last year, I remember Carl sending me a message saying that you might have to get your queue out next year, pal.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
the first day, the one what's just been played was unbelievable. How bad they played, it was unbelievable. And I'm thinking, Jesus. But luckily, they got themselves together. Obviously, Carl and Alex made a huge difference to that team, and you also could see it made a huge difference to Jason. Jason finally looked like he could be that player who can lead the team, let's say.
Do you think you'd be able to? So here's a controversial one for. We'll ask Carl this. We haven't heard your pretty voice for a while. Yep. Do you think that Jason played that well just because there was no crowd, or do you think he just finally found a gear in that stage?
Yeah, I don't think the crowd made a difference. Obviously, he's won big tournaments. You know, he's played under the heat. Still, even though there was no crowd, there's still pressure there because the world is, still watching. And in some cases, it could have been worse because we were just all sat there. So it must have been weird for the players. Obviously, with a crowd there, you kind of don't really take any. You forget the teams there, don't you? Because it's just so crazy. I think it was just his time, really. I think even if the crowd was there, he'd still perform. Because I think he's found his game. He's found where he's at as a player.
More mature.
More mature.
He's finally matured. I mean, Jason's been an amazing talent since they were like 10, 12 years old. I mean, he's still a good putter. He was a good putter when he was 15 as what he is now. He's just got a better temperament now. He's more mature, and it shows in his performance and his game. And when he's right and everything's going well, he's obviously one of the best 3 or 4 players in the world. So I think Jason can do that role really well. It's just that Jason, sometimes he can get too involved emotionally where it can affect his performance with the crowd, because you can get too like adrenaline, you know what I mean? If your adrenaline's pumping too much, it's hard to control it. But yeah, I think Jason's in a good spot now. I think the whole team is really. I think obviously they've got the right captain, the right vice captain. So I'm not saying I can't make the team again, but I'm realistic. I'm not stupid. I know it's going to be very difficult for me to make the team again. The only way I can make the team is if I win a world championship or if I qualify for the ranking system.
Which you won't be playing the Euro Tours, right? I mean, you're not playing a lot of Euro Tours, so you really don't have that opportunity.
I was going to mean anything in the future going forward. I think all the rankings are going to be through the Matchroom events.
Yeah. But yeah, I got to agree. I think it was Jason's time.
Championships, maybe International Open. So, end of the day, it's all about doing well in the big events. Someone like Carl and Alex, they don't care whether I play on the Euro Tour or not, or if I finish second on the Euro Tour. They only really care about the guys who are doing it in the big tournaments to really have a good look at them.
Yeah.
But I got to agree. I think it was Jason's time. But I think also that
people said to me, "Oh, so and so is going to do well in the Masters." I says, "Look, they play great on the Euro Tour where they're very comfortable in the corner of the room on massive pockets. Put them on television, it's like watching a different person. Some of them, it's like they've never played the game. So it's just a different world. There is no substitute for being able to handle the pressure, play on the big stage, and perform on the big stage when you've been away from the game, like me and Carl. I mean, it's rather in you or it isn't in you. It's like Carl Boyes. Carl Boyes is the Ian Poulter of the pool world. Anybody who watches golf knows what I'm on about. I mean, Carl's never been a team player in the world. he might have got in the rankings one time in the top 16, but he's never really been a top 16 prolific player. But when it comes to the team events and the Ryder Cup, I mean, the Mosconi Cup is like the Ian Poulter. Some changes, you know what I mean? Like when he's on television, is all of a sudden becomes a top player. Where if you play him on like the Euro Tour, you probably beat him like 9-3, 9-4. But play him on a proper TV event, where on the big stage, then he is probably a top 16 player.
It's like when you beat Darren, Jim.
Huh?
Like when Jim beat Darren.
Who?
I wasn't going to mention it. But hey, you know, hey, listen. I turned his career around. He said after that was all the motivation he needed to practice. The fact that he'd reached a level that was bad enough to lose to me meant that he had to start putting some work in.
I mean, that was like, am I really going to continue playing pool? But I actually thought this guy's just a bum. Like, I'm thinking he's just a drunk from the Mosconi Cup, and then he's like, all of a sudden, he can actually pot a ball. So, and then like even last year, I mean, I know me and Nate were like giving you some stick on them ghost tournaments. So I'm thinking like, but then you start getting better and better. So fair play to you.
I've had nothing else to do in my time. I don't work much at the moment. I've got my table here behind me. What else am I going to do?
You'll probably go back to being a bum after this. After the bars are back open and you can travel and start drinking with the guys like Cookie.
Yeah, that's my goal. To go back to being a bum.
Going back to the Mosconi Cup,
yeah.
Carl. What did you see? What was the difference last year in the Mosconi Cup to the previous years?
Well, I think
with the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair point to mention what happened with
the US being the most unprepared they've ever been.
Yeah, and obviously the fact that, there's not a lot of US players who you'd pick, but the fact Bergman missed out, I think that was a huge, issue. And then Corey Jewell coming in, who's of late years not really performed in that event. I think that was a big thing. So I think, it was a bit of a strange Mosconi, but I think this year will be a bigger test and a bigger, we can assess it a little bit better after this one. But I think Laley did a great job. I think he was very good when the 5 players was picked. He spent a lot of time speaking to him. We did Zoom calls, and everyone just got on really well. I think that was the big thing, because obviously Fedor's never. Yeah, the team spirit was great. Fedor Ghost obviously has not played in anything like that. Catch is, he's a bit of a funny character, isn't he? And he's not like, his English is not great and things like that, but it was just getting him a bit more involved. I thought Catchy played well, to be fair, for the little he played.
Years, he's been the first or second best player, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing when Alex wanted Catchy in at the end. I know there was obviously like players. There's a handful of players who you could put in, but I think Alex was very keen on getting the youth in the team. That was was the big.
Alex works better with the younger guys. Obviously, when he was captain with myself, Mika, Ralph, Niels, and Torsten, it looked like to me that he looked a bit intimidated. He didn't really know how to handle those guys because he'd been their rivals, let's say, for 10, 15 years. So there've probably been some arguments in the past on the table. So maybe there was some, like, I don't know, something wasn't right there. But I think Alex really learned a big lesson from that 2009 Mosconi Cup.
Yeah.
He's obviously progressed a lot in his career since then, not as a player but as a coach and all that stuff, commentating. And I think that's really held him in good stead for getting the opportunity this time.
I guess you learned quite a lot off Laley while you were with him. I remember you mentioned thinking, this will be easy. But the amount of work that actually goes into doing it kind of surprised you a little bit, I think, Carl.
Yeah, definitely, and I think also I think like the amount of stuff. I don't know if it's just Laley or the Dutch, I think obviously there's a lot of like drills that they do and things like this, and practice routines. Something
we do like a drill.
Yeah, something that I never really used to do. So that was quite interesting seeing all that, and I think that definitely helped the guys as well. A lot of the drills that he was doing, and I just think I think Alex is just a good guy. You know what I mean? He's just one of the nice guys in pool. He's not like one of these.
One of the consummate. He's the closest thing we have to a consummate professional. From what
but he's easy to approach as well. He's very easy to approach for other players,
and he's the type of guy where he'll work hard and do everything that needs to be done, but he'll also sit and have a beer with you, at night and relax. Yeah, just
one.
Gel.
Just one.
Yeah, just gel really well, and I think
it'll be whiskey, no? Whiskey, no?
No, it's on the beer, I think. But I think this year is going to be the big one because obviously we should have some fans back, and I think it's more about which team USA bring rather than which team we take.
Yeah.
I think that's the big.
Carl, can you do me a favor, pull some strings and get me into the com box with you at the Mosconi Cup next year?
Carl, you get 5 wild cards. Is it the same team?
Is it the same team?
You can't. I think.
Who could you add?
I think guaranteed 4 of them.
I was going to say, who could you add?
Because at the end of the day, if somebody wins the World Championship and not getting the Mosconi Cup, it's a bit of a joke, really. Especially with it being a matchroom one, and obviously the US Open if the US Open goes ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of it needs to be them 5 or whatever. I think there's loads of guys, even somebody like David Alcade. He's been a bit unlucky over the years.
Well, let me come back to that in a second, but I would say like Dennis Grabe, there's no reason he can't. Go ahead. What'd you say, Darren?
His matchroom tournaments. I don't quite understand why he's not in the World Masters and didn't play in the Champions League.
Who?
Mario He.
Oh, Mario He. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm massive fan of his.
Yeah, what I was going to say about David Alcade too is, I mean, don't get me wrong, because David Alcade is a monster pool player, but his English isn't good enough to really put him through the interviews and to go through the ringer of doing all of the steps necessary to really make a Mosconi Cup. Do you think that has anything to do with him not playing?
No, it's good enough, and there's other players that they're English.
Great guy to be around.
Yeah, David's all right. It's just I think. It's just so hard, isn't it? Who do you pick? There's like 10 guys, isn't there?
The thing is, Nate, you've only been on the scene a few years, right? I mean, David Alcade has been a very good player for a long time.
Oh yeah, he's one of the most underrated players in the world, for my money, I think.
Yeah, but he never produced it on TV. He always had that little bit of dog in him, and he showed it in the Mosconi Cup a few times he played. But in recent years, he's obviously won the World Masters twice. He played decent. He played pretty decent in the Mosconi Cup 2017. Didn't play good. He just played decent. So he
lost the Mosconi Cup.
He's definitely got better in recent years under pressure.
Yeah. He lost the Kremlin Cup. Sorry, I think he lost it to Tyler.
Yeah, no, he won it one year as well. He won it the year before that.
Did he win it the year before? Okay.
But what I'm saying,
Alex won the year before that.
He's still one of those guys. I still don't put him in the top 8 players in Europe.
I don't think so either.
No.
I think Dennis Grabe. I think Dennis, for my money, I think Dennis is probably the next player that is in line outside of those top 5. But I think the top 5 has got to stay there. Personally,
I think there's players you're missing out. Like I think Mario He is definitely a top 6 player in Europe.
Maybe.
Right now, let's say.
Yeah.
And then it depends on people.
Kazakis, but I mean Kazakis is absolutely there as well. I mean he just kind of dogs it in those biggest stages, but
you can never count out Niels.
So good.
We're talking about building a team to play on the big stage.
Yeah.
So the guys you mentioned, I wouldn't put them in that category.
Dennis.
No, I think they still need a lot of time. They still need to prove it on the big stage, which they haven't. Depends on what people like me and Niels do. I mean, me and Niels are not finished. You know what I mean? We're still playing the game. If we get back to our best, we can do it out there. And obviously, Carl and Alex knows that. So don't write people off like me and Niels. Fine.
We're not.
We will. I will.
Well, that was the big thing because obviously, I think people probably thought Niels was going to get in because he's Dutch and all this, but Alex was all about the youth.
Yeah,
and Niels is that Niels.
Nikos is back playing. He just got to play tournaments. I mean, it is great under pressure on television.
Nick Vandenberg's back playing pretty high level too.
Nikos is the best player in Greece.
Yeah,
I don't care what.
Yeah, I think Neil struggled. Neil struggled 2 years ago with the. Neil struggled 2 years ago with the dynamics within the team. It was almost a bit too hectic with Joshua jumping around and Jason jumping around. And Niels needs his peace and quiet. He needs his zen moments, and he wasn't really getting it. And he struggled with that a little bit, I think.
Niels is okay. Niels just needs that. Niels is a confidence player.
Yeah.
He just needs a really big run in a tournament, and but maybe it's a case that age catches up with you, and the nerves are not as good anymore.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
But Carl,
Patrick McKinney says Christoph.
Christoph.
No, Christoph played good, but he's not. I mean, I wouldn't.
Actually,
he's probably not a top 50 player.
No, but what I will say about Christoph, if you're talking about a partnership, for me, he gets 60% of that World Cup of Pool title because Joshua doesn't win. Christoph Ranches.
They probably got 33%.
I give him. I'd give him 60. I'd give him 60%. Joshua doesn't win that with another German.
No,
probably right.
Well, he did exactly what he needed to do, the best he could possibly do it. I mean,
exactly.
He's not supposed to be Joshua Pillar. He's not supposed to play that level of pool. He did exactly what he needed to do. He's
exactly.
I mean,
and he didn't get carried away with it. He didn't get carried away with it. He didn't get too big for his boots. He just did exactly what he had to do. If he didn't like a shot, he just played a lock-up safe. He played exactly the way he needed to play to support the partner that he had.
He was very very smart the way he played his more difficult shots, I would say.
And the way he made that 9-ball when everyone thought he'd play it into the bottom right, to play it in the top left was just that was nonsense. Genius. What a shot that was! Genius. Not everybody would see that shot.
That was funny though, Carl. When he got that fluke and you sat in chair and you said, "That's class."
Oh, brilliant.
But
anyway, Carl.
That text on Dewey trying to put it in that other pocket.
That was amazing.
I know, yeah. I'd take some balls. He was obviously confident.
Bank pull shot.
4-railed it.
Hopefully, you guys aren't playing banks by the rails then.
No, I think it was a bank when he tried jumping the 2-ball and he's ended up banking it.
Yeah,
and he cleared the 4-ball out of the way for it to bank by too.
I think, Al, I think you can hear it on the camera. He says, "Oh, that's class."
Brilliant.
The jump shot straight into the corner. He banks the 4-ball out of the way to make room for the 2-ball to bank into the corner. It's genius shot. Genius.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Well, let's go back to Mario He. Cal, what is the situation with Mario He? I'm not quite understanding why he's not in the Matchroom events and why he's not considered for the Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, I mean,
he was supposed to make a Mosconi Cup, right? And then he had the drug test.
But that was just unfortunate. He paid the price for that, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in, and obviously then he was out, so that was unlucky. I think probably just the sheer fact that, I suppose you need to see him in some form of singles events, don't you? Like you said, he needs a go, doesn't he? I suppose it's a funny one.
Yeah, if you're looking at big events, and players that are performing on the big stage, you take away the World Cup of Pool, he's done nothing, has he? Really?
He hasn't really in the first World Cup of Pool too. He kind of dogged it too. I mean, Albin dragged him to the first one. To be fair, he dragged Albin to the second one.
I mean, the last one, it was a one-man show. That last World Cup.
Yeah, he dragged Albin there. I mean, Albin was playing. I mean, besides that crazy shot that he made on like the 4-ball or something like that.
But at the end of the day, it's all about team. It doesn't matter. Mario played the best, but you still need the right guy with you. So you are right. We need to see him in singles. But when I've seen him in singles events, he's looked amazing.
Yeah,
he's a cracking player. He needs that breakthrough opportunity. I mean, I agree. Maybe he should be in the Masters to get that chance.
Before the stuff with the drug stuff, though, Jim, I think he won 3 out of 4 events on the Euro Tour. He won 3 out.
He'd won a couple, I think. Yeah. He done all right. Yeah. No, but again, this is what we're all saying.
He has won 4 Euro Tours.
a Euro Tour is a Euro Tour. You know,
He's won 4
Masters is
Euro
a
Tours.
Masters.
That time he was going pretty deep in the World Championships and the stuff like that, like the US Open. He was getting to the final 16. To me, he's got one of the best strokes in the game. He looks great under pressure. I just think he needs to be given an opportunity in the Matchroom Arena. And
I'm sure he will be.
Captain and Alex as a captain, they should be putting his name forward because that's somebody that I personally, that's a guy that I'd really want to be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, his name definitely was mentioned, but it's just so tough, isn't it?
No, I mean, like, mention him to get in the World Masters and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like the champion.
So you
use your influence, Carl.
Real quick here.
Very important.
We're talking, so really quickly here, the Euro Tour. Mario He is currently 8th all-time with the most amount, tied for 7th all-time with the most amount of Euro Tour wins in history.
Well done, Mario.
That's pretty crazy.
Well done, Panda.
Seriously, I think he's a world-class player. I've played a lot of players, and when I play against him, I think, Jesus Christ, he times the ball beautiful. He's a great putter. And he breaks very good. So I'm thinking, like, what's he done wrong?
That's incredible.
Failed the drug test, pal.
I've played all the players.
Failed the drugs test, pal. That's what
Could be.
It's a good job we didn't take that one last week, then, what me and you had to do.
Wow.
We might not get paid yet.
No, that's a good story, wasn't it?
Darren
Anyway,
Appleton
Carl.
was me on a Mario He.
Yes, Jim.
Carl, looking down the line a couple of years. Mosconi Cup captains generally last 3, maybe 4 years if they're on a good run. The natural next captain, I guess, would be you to take over from Alex.
And I'll be vice captain.
I was going to say you're going to have to pick a vice captain because it seems to be the way to go now. Do you have anybody in mind already?
No, probably you, Jim.
Probably Daryl Peach.
I'm ready. I'll do it. I don't care.
By then I might be the captain of the US too. I think we'd use up all of our players by then. It might be down to me for the US Mosconi Cup captain by then.
Do you think it has to be a player? An ex-player?
No,
not really.
No, I don't think so either.
Johan.
American captain, that's more the question.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a big thing. It's not something I'm going to think about. I think America have got to. They've got bigger issues than Europe. I think Europe.
There's nobody.
Yeah, it's just
Europe.
If it doesn't work out with JJ, who's next?
Who's next after Jeremy?
Yeah.
Tony Robles, Shannon Dalton.
Well, you would think Joey Gray would get his chances being the vice captain, though.
Might be in prison by then. With his tiger.
Oh yeah, Joey.
His tiger.
I think I know.
I don't think. Tough one, isn't it?
Nate just sounds so sad.
If you go back like 15, 20 years ago, they probably had like 10 captains. Where now, I don't know where they go with it.
Yeah, it's tough, really.
Where Europe,
Johnny, Rodney, Earl. I mean, you can't really get any of them.
Potentially 5 or 6.
Who?
No, Matt, Europe have got potential captains in the pipelines if it's needed. I mean, there's definitely 2 or 3 guys out there. Where America, I mean, I'd probably look at someone like Tony Robles, to be honest, just because at least he's sort of normal.
I think the best to be honest, I think the best option is
Bill Strickland be captain.
I think the best option is probably to bring in another European.
Huh?
The best option is probably bring in another European.
Might be right.
Maybe
Marcus.
Maybe you,
Marcus.
Darren.
Alison Fisher. That's a good call.
Well, the problem with Carl, you can speak to this more than
Johnny Archer was captain in 2013.
Nick Varner, right? Carl, you can talk to this better than anybody else here. I mean, you can't just sign up for the vice captain or the captaincy and show up 2 weeks before the event anymore and start coaching. I mean, it really is 6 to 8 months ahead of time that you're really starting to work with all your players. I mean, who in the U.S. has that level of dedication to work with their players for 6 to 8 months before the event.
Very tough, I think.
Right? I mean, it doesn't work 2 weeks before like it did in the past. It just doesn't.
Why not?
I mean, does it have to be an ex-player?
See, that's my question. I don't think you really need to have a player in there. It might actually be beneficial not to have, well, somebody who knows a little bit about the game, but I don't think it's that beneficial to have a top player. You know, it's always been players who have actually been in the Mosconi Cup before. So I don't see that as being any sort of benefit, really, if you've got a vice captain with you who has done that, who is that connection, you know, with the experience.
But that goes to, there's still no obvious options, even if it's not a player, right? I mean, Johan's not a player, but I mean, that's an obvious answer. We don't really have any of those in the US.
You've got loads of sports psychologists and stuff like that.
Maybe you could bring someone in from a different sport. That's definitely something to look at.
That might be the option. But then
exactly. You go and look at a sports psychologist from other sports who they're geared into making people perform when they need to perform. It doesn't matter what they're doing, but they manage to get them in the correct mindset, and that's all you really need. These guys know how to play pool already. They have to do it at that moment in that stage, and it doesn't need to be a pool player that tells them to do it.
Carl, you can talk to this.
I don't think you need to work with players for 6 to 8 months for the Mosconi Cup. I think Nate says it doesn't work anymore. Just join a couple of weeks before the tournament. But if you're communicating with these players on a regular basis, then turning up a couple of weeks before the Mosconi Cup, even a week before the Mosconi Cup, is enough time. It's time to get that team on the same page and get them gelling together.
I think that works in Europe. I don't think it works in the US anymore. I mean, we're already giving up so much talent on paper. When we had our success, it was because Johan was working with these players. I mean, he was traveling with them to China and to Russia. And I mean, he was constantly working with them, preparing them. I think the US needs the more help. I think the US needs to have the 6 months.
But they need to start drinking at tournaments as well, at the Mosconi Cups and stuff like that.
Well, I can't argue with that, I guess. But the only thing I would say is, Carl, you can talk to this better than anybody else. I mean, I don't think that this vice captain or the captaincy pays $700,000 a year. Do you think that there's enough money in that pot to be able to hire an outside the industry person?
I think Darren's right. I don't think you have to go like working, so early on in the year, because you might not even know half the team anyway. It's usually
you don't have the players that far in advance.
Yeah, it's usually late on. There's a certain point of the year, isn't it, where things starting to take shape and you get a feel of who's going to be in the team, and that's when things can go on.
I still think you do know the players for the US, because we don't have the pool of players that you guys do.
Yeah,
four of our 5 are decided every single year before we even. It's really the 5th spot that's getting changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think moving forward for USA there's got to be some younger players out there, right? There must be.
That Lucas from Connecticut, Lucas Vanna, is a pretty good player. I really like the look of Perez, but he just cleared off the face of the earth.
I don't see it.
The Americans, the Americans love their Fargo thing. The Americans, they love their whole Fargo. If you want to take a group of 8 American players and then say we're going to take this 8 and then we're going to pick 5 of the 8, the number 8 is probably around about my level Fargo. If you get rid of if you take away the Johnny Archers and the Earl Stricklands and Rodney Morrises, the guys that have been there and probably need to be moved to the side, number 8 ends up round about where I am.
So you might start playing for America then.
Well,
but that's the depth. But I'm talking about the depth they have. I'm talking about the depth they have. You take the European players and take their top 8 or 8 guys. They're all above the 800.
Hold on, Jim. Let's talk about this, because let's go down the list. Here's number 1, Shane Ben-Boni, a lock for the tournament. Mike DeShane, never play another Matchroom event ever again. Sky Woodward in. Justin Bergman in. Corey Deuel. We've seen that, right? We've seen what that looks like. I don't think you can have him back. Oscar Dominguez, I think Oscar could play again. Rodney Morris, no. Earl Strickland, no. Billy Thorpe right there is 5, but now you're down to 772, and you're 40 points lower than the high or the lowest European player.
I wouldn't even look twice at the Fargo rating. I mean, to me, at a pro level, the Fargo rating's a joke. Amateur level, it's great.
Well, you saw it with Chris Robinson. Chris Robinson went in there. What's he like, a 740, and he played really well on the matchroom table.
That's what I think his name.
Now, what?
Sergio Rivas.
Sergio Rivas. He's a Wisconsin kid. He's 20.
Danny Olson.
Maybe he's 24 years old, but he only played. I mean, again, we're going back to Fargo, but I mean, Chris Robinson's a 745, and Sergio I think is right around a 735. Sergio's a 734. So I mean, your guys' higher players almost 100 points higher than our.
But there you go. You're naming players that are at my level.
Yeah.
Have a day.
As the future of America. But that's my level. That's my level around the 730. So you're naming players for the US team as possible US team players that are at my level. Nobody in Europe at my level will ever, regardless of what age you are, you need to be 12 years old. If you're at my level when you're 12 years old, you might have a future. You know, yeah. But not when you're in your 20s. It's not going to happen for you.
And them Fargo ratings are no good at pro level.
I'm not arguing with I don't necessarily argue with that, but it's usually still right more than it's wrong. But let's go past Billy Thorpe. So he's number 9. Gary Hall, he doesn't play hardly at all. Josh Roberts, he barely plays. I shouldn't say he barely plays, but I mean he doesn't travel to play. Jeremy Seaman, he's mostly a bar table player, was still a great player. But Shane McMinn, Scott Frost, Andy Quinn, BJ Ussery.
The most disappointing guy from America, in my opinion, is Justin Hall. Because this guy was awesome.
I can agree with that.
Back in the day, he was awesome. 2014 Mosconi Cup, he was USA's best player. And then since then, I just don't know what's happened to him.
Yeah. But then you go Jeremy Sosi, Max Eberle, Chip Compton, and now you're down to a 754 Fargo. And you're top 20 in your US.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But someone like Justin Hall, someone should be pulling him aside and saying, look, get your act together. Because you've got potentially a great future in the game. Really, really knowledgeable player, really good player. Got bottle, and he's just thrown his career away, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Justin Hall he still is just a huge talent.
Yeah, no, but look at he isn't looking after himself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a thing.
But there's a few of them like that. But anyway,
at this point, Justin Hall might be the best all-around player in the U.S. I mean, he might be the best. I mean, if you take all the games. He might be. I mean, he's certainly in the running of being the best all-around player in the U.S. even still.
Yeah, after Shane, yeah.
I think US needs somebody who's not going to be scared of the players as well. I mean, for me, Tyler Stiers should have been in the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how you can.
He played good in the previous Mosconi Cup. At least it looks like he believes he can win.
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
whatever beef they've got, they need to sort it out big time.
Yeah, he still won when he was.
It never will be.
At least
he was still on the winning team, but they need to sort it out.
They won't. That ship sailed.
You can't punish a guy when he's that young and that good, and he's that professional, the ultimate professional. Really, let's be honest. He's a very clean living guy. He works his tail off. You can't just throw a guy to the side because he doesn't get on with the captain or one or two players in the team.
Well, I'm not telling you what I think at this point. I'm telling you what I know. That bridge is set, or that ship has sailed.
Well, that's
unfortunately.
Well, that's
I'm not arguing with that at all. I agree with you.
I don't see why the ship has sailed. I don't really understand that, because if me and Darren were captains of America, and we'd say,
you'd take him, yeah,
we'd be saying, Tyler, you're in. Right, who's not happy that he's in? And if somebody says, well, I'm not happy, I'll be saying, okay, well, you're not in.
Yeah, Mika and Ralph didn't like each other, but they make it work. Yep. You make it work, don't you? That's the captain's responsibility. The captain should be in charge and saying, "Look, this is what's happening. For this 1 week, you're going to be best friends."
Yep, I'm not arguing. That's kind of an interesting. That's a pretty interesting person. Per Hagen says the next captain for the USA should be Joe Rogan. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, maybe someone like him.
Well, you'd have to have a really solid vice captain.
How old is Tyler? What, 21, 22?
Tyler? No, he's 27. He's 2 years younger than me.
He hasn't even hit his prime yet. You can't keep punishing somebody who plays the game for a living because he doesn't get on with one or two of the players.
He's only getting better, and he loves it out there in that match room. If you every time he plays, he's got his balls up, polished. He loves everything perfect conditions. He's anal about everything
degrees.
everything's got to be absolutely perfect. He loves it out there. He's the only person that goes out onto that matchroom table and doesn't think, "Ooh, this might be a bit slippy and a bit skinny." He loves it, just loves it.
He's got confidence, he's got belief, and sometimes that rubs guys up the wrong way, and he's very opinionated. For someone so young, maybe that they don't like that as well. But tough. End of the day,
it's about playing pool.
He's right. He's been very professional, and he's getting punished because of that. That's out of order.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we can talk off stream about this, but it's not going away anytime soon.
No, but it needs to be discussed.
Unfortunately,
obviously, there's nothing happening about it. It needs to be brought to people's attention. And Matchroom or whatever, Jeremy, they need to really look at this big time because it isn't fair on the kid.
I don't disagree with anything you said.
It's discrimination, basically, just because of personal feelings. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't gone online. I'm just guessing. I'm thinking maybe Carl has more information. I don't know.
No, because Nate never tells me. He keeps telling me he's going to tell me, but he never does.
Well, we'll talk right after the stream is done. I can fill you guys in. But yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's not the road doesn't exist to the bridge, so the bridge isn't getting mended anytime soon. I think eventually, at some point in time in all of the players' careers, that this is. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is when the U.S. is already giving up so much talent to start excluding the best that we have to offer. It's tough.
Yeah, it's not good, really.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's not good for anybody, is it? It isn't good for the game. It isn't good for the individual, and it's just not good for the team. And yeah, it's quite sad when you start having to talk about it. Really.
Yeah. It's what it is, I guess.
What you need, what basically what needs to happen is for the ranking system to be set up with a tour the same. And I know it's probably not going to happen that way in the USA, and that Tyler just proves himself and qualifies, and nobody can say crap about it, and he's in the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what's going to have to happen.
You would think that eventually, that when we get back to normal, there's going to be a proper ranking system. So if he qualifies,
that is what it is. Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. Because Tyler tours more than just about anybody else in the country, besides even maybe more so than Shane right now. Tyler plays more international events than any other player in the U.S. except for maybe Shane.
But it needs to be sorted out. Even if he does make the team, it needs to be sorted out. Because
it needs to be talked about.
Thinking like none of these guys want me here. I mean, that's got to be the worst feeling in the world. I mean, nobody ever gets on perfect in team events, but you make it work, don't you? You can't be going there giving the kid like bad vibes and making him out of place. I mean, that's not good at all.
I think you said it perfectly when you said like Ralph and Mika didn't like each other. At the end of the day, you're not there to be friends. You're there to do a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
to do a job.
I mean, you don't have to. You know, it's you're playing in Europe, and comes 10:30, the matches are done. You don't have to go to the bar and get a drink together. You have to go back to your room and be professionals. You show up to do your job the next day. I mean, who here hasn't worked with somebody, a coworker that they just couldn't stand? You don't go hang out with that coworker that night. You just do your job together and you're done.
Strickland played in loads of Mosconi Cup teams, and every player said he was like a cancer to the team, but they make it work. They have to play together, so they make it work. They accommodate him. They accommodate the team and they make it work. It was only really in later years where Earl's games obviously dropped down, and obviously one or two other guys where it probably didn't work. But in the old days, I mean, they dominated the Mosconi Cup, and Earl Strickland, isn't it? I mean, you have to work with these people. You're not going to always get on well with people, are you? And that's the same. Yeah. That's the same in any walk of life, any job you do, really.
Yep. You're always gonna have coworkers that you don't like. All you got to do is just don't go hang out with them after hours.
Like me and Carl playing doubles, we don't like each other, but we make it work.
Yep.
He lags, I break.
That's all you need. He's got it written on the back of his hand. He lags, I break. And if he just sits there and goes, hold on a minute. Ah, all right, yeah.
Simple maths.
Yeah.
Jake Keegan says, "Can you answer my question? I haven't got a clue what he's on about."
He's talking about some darts style Q school. We don't have darts in the US really. So
he was saying that in like darts and snooker, there's a Q school. Yeah.
We need a pro tour like darts, where obviously eventually we have a feeder system like a Q school to get in the pro events. At the moment, we're a million miles away from there, aren't we? But if anyone can do it, Matchroom can do it.
Well, I mean, I think that works really well in Europe or in the UK because I mean, snooker and darts are really a UK sport. I mean, this is a worldwide sport. Does it work with a worldwide thing? I mean, you'd have to have a Q school in every country.
Well, they have darts in other countries. They have snooker in China all the time.
But
more and more global. I mean, it definitely helps that the majority of the players are based in the UK, especially during this pandemic as well, because the players haven't got to travel. But
I think Q school. I mean, you can look at like maybe the NBA. I mean, if you get to be a good enough NBA player, or if you get to be a good enough basketball player, you come to the U.S. because that has the NBA, right? And it's the same way with, golf. I mean, if you're a great golfer, I mean, there is certainly a golf tour that exists in the UK and Japan and Australia. But I mean, if you're going to be a top golfer, you come to the U.S. for it. I mean, maybe you could set up.
No, you don't. The PGA is a worldwide tour.
Correct, but most of the events happen in the U.S.
No, there's tournaments world at golf, but it's just
tournaments all over the world.
The tour is the main tour.
Yeah, but most of the events that happen throughout the U.S.
They basically run golf, really.
Yeah.
But what happens is that the Euro Tour, Japan Tour, the Asian Tour, they all come under they're just under like the same umbrella as the PGA, but just not as big.
Yeah.
But they're together. They're all
so maybe it's a golf. Maybe golf is a bad example, but it goes back to like the NBA, right? If you're a world quality basketball player, you live in the U.S. I mean,
yeah, because you've got the biggest league in the world there. Yeah, but you've done that with American football as well. If you turn around and say American football, you've got to go to America if you want to play. If you want to play baseball, you've got to go to America.
Well, that's what I'm saying about darts.
What these big but what these big tours do is they do stuff to restrict the amount of traveling, and you'll have your yearly events, and maybe you'll have 2 or 3 events in a row that are in the US. So you go to the US, you do one big block there, and then you go to Europe and you do one big block there. Then you go to China. So you're not going back and forward everywhere, and that's where it needs to be. At the moment, for players traveling, they could be 1 week in China, then they've got to come home for a week, and then they've got to go to the States, and then back home for a week, and then they've got to go China again. It's not regulated, so you can go and do it in blocks, reduce your traveling time, make it a little bit more player friendly, and then you can have a proper tour that builds up proper ranking points where everybody can go, and it's not going to be so financially restricting, and yeah, that's what you need. And then you can easily do a worldwide tour.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like the darts I think it works really well for darts and snooker because while there's snooker tournaments in Australia and in South Africa and in India, 99% of the big events, correct me if I'm wrong, happen in the UK, and the same with darts. So it's all centrally located in one country.
You've got the big 3. You've got the Masters of World Championships in the UK. They're held in the UK. The rest of them are dotted around. You've got 2 big tournaments in Europe getting played. The massive tournaments in Shanghai Masters and in China.
Open, Welsh Open. I mean, the majority of the best tournaments are in the UK, but like Jim says, there's 3 or 4 massive tournaments in China. There's 1 massive tournament in Germany. But we all know that pool's a lot more global, and it comes down to money. The problem with pool is it's all going to come down to money. It's going to be more. It's going to cost a lot more money for players to travel than it is snooker and darts throughout the whole year if we will start a pro tour. The only thing I would say with pool is that I can't ever see it getting to like 25 tournaments a year like snooker and darts.
Yeah,
because it's so global and it's going to require a lot more traveling. So snooker and darts, they can have like 25 tournaments a year because the majority of them are in the UK. So maybe
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly my point.
Do the same thing, then that's great.
Yeah, but that's exactly my point. That's why I think it works with snooker and darts is because it is centrally located. Yes, there's big events other places, but it is predominantly centrally located. And right now there's That's not the case for pool.
Yeah,
that's why I think the pool school works.
It's going to be a process, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's why I think the pool school can work when it's out of one country, because it's most of the events are there.
Yeah, plus them sports are making money as well, aren't they?
Yeah, them sports make money.
Yeah.
The problem with pool as well is that there's only really 16 professionals at most. There's only really 16.
There's a lot of people. No, a lot of people call themselves professional, but they're not.
Like 16, there's maybe like another 30, 40 players who are professional level.
What are you guys talking about? I just became a professional right now. Look, I'm a professional.
Get the opportunity to make any money from sponsorships, where there's 16 guys who are making a living from playing pool, not just on the table.
I'm a professional now too. I got a patch on my chest. It's not that hard.
You'll always be for you, pal.
But I mean, that's Jim's like a thing where Jim likes to say that just because players put a patch on their chest, they think they're a professional player now.
Well, even Carl's back as a pro now. He's got Perry.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
It's all good.
No.
Well, what do we think? We ready to wrap this up? This was quite the discussion.
My battery's about to go.
Yeah, shower and pub time.
Carl's back out. He has work to do.
There you have it.
Well,
All
guys,
right, well,
thanks for
let's
joining
wrap
us.
this up.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We'll have another chat sometime.
Yeah.
Sweat the Masters. See what's going on.
Go on,
Yep,
pal.
go get your DAZN subscription.
welcome.
Yep. All right. Well,
You're back.
thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time.